Okay. Hello and welcome to this episode of The Moment. I'm here today with Erik, Shroom, and Lynn, and we're gonna talk a bit more about soil. I don't know, because you had asked me, Erik, if you could be on the moment and talk on this subject. And he had mentioned that you had some, I guess, personal, but also other things to mention. So maybe you would like to take it away.
Yeah, well, thanks. Thanks for having me on, guys. I appreciate it. I just saw what was published by Baz last week, and I've spoken to Baz before in other places, and it's something that's become a very prominent subject amongst everybody these days, and that's food production and just some of the things that have been happening in and around that. I mean, it's affecting everybody. With inflation is the topic of the day, but there's a lot more to it, and you guys touched on a lot of that thing. And what I do is I start out of a bit of an analysis of what I see as to what the way the food industry is now, and then we can kind of launch off and see where we're going from there. Projecting what's happening now very, very quickly, and then where we're going to end up. But the food policy was directed a lot by the FDA. They're the main culprits and their mandate was to produce food in large scales, kind of post-war, and be able to produce for a growing nation. And the American system is a reflection of its environment and its great ability to produce large amounts of food, its navigatable rivers, just really a country that can really truly supply the world with food, and that was their goal post-war, to be able to do that. Now, a lot of these things were brought through the laboratory in the academy. A lot of these farming practices, they tried to take the biology or the biotic environment out of it to leave a sterile environment, something you guys touched on last one. And the best way I could describe it was the best way it was described on your last broadcast was necromancy. I thought that was an apt comparison of trying to bring things back to life through chemistry. And it has served its purpose. I think technology, we've gotten to a point where we've been able to, and I'll use a commodity as an example, soybean. The soybean, we're at the point with the genetically modified soybean where they're producing a massive amount of this product and able to ship it all over the world, but it's not really food at this point. It's basically just a commodity, a filler to keep animals, and there's definitely nutrition in it, protein specifically, but they've really focused on making those proteins available instead of what the food is, instead of what it can do for food. So there's been a lot of negative. We're starting to reap the consequences of those things right now in very, very short term.
Yeah. It's kind of strange. We grew up with all these movies like Blade Runner and Terminator, and that's the exact world that we're creating. And everybody's so excited about like eating bugs and having robots. And
yeah,
I don't get it. I mean, those were supposed to be cautionary tales. I mean, those movies disturbed me when I saw them, but people nowadays are like, yeah, bring on the bugs and robots. I don't get it.
Yeah, and well, that comes from as you say, it was very impactful, and people, those things have resonated with people, and they see those things as solutions. And yeah, look, there are technical solutions to these problems, and I'll talk about what some of those I think are, but it's not going to be, hopefully, not going to be what. It's hopefully not going to be under the control of the same actors, I guess you could say. It's looking as if that's not the way, because we're going to have to figure out. Have we figured out? I should say, people like Elaine Ingham and a lot of the other people you've mentioned last conversation, Lynn, have really taken this stuff off, and hopefully we can avoid that and integrate some things that make some sense sustainably, so we can keep going. But yeah, no, these the idea now, the laboratory idea, I think we're done with it, and we're moving on pretty quickly. Basically, the laboratory is going to have to be the farm. It's not going to be the academy anymore.
Yeah, I agree with that.
But if you look at my ceilings, I'm in a regulated building, and it looks like a laboratory in here. But there's still manure on the walls. Believe me, I can attest to that.
Awesome, good.
Yeah.
So, if I could, I'd talk a little bit about some of the positive solutions that you guys touched on as well, with the introduction, to me at least, of the idea of microbiome. So the microbiome is the life within the soil and the life within people, and the connection between the two. So I think that's a fair assessment of the two. Is that right, guys? Do I have that right? The definition of microbiome?
Yeah.
So what got me introduced in this, it was an economic motivation, and something we've taken on. It's probably a 15-year process of how to get to the point where we're at now. But where we're at now is, last night I spent probably 3 hours chopping fish. So we're making a fish hydrolysate to apply to our fields foliarly. So that's kind of where I've ended up, how far I've regenerated, not degenerated. So that's what we're doing on our farm now to help improve the microbiome.
Excellent. That is a forward-thinking solution. And as you said, the future of laboratories are going to be out in the farm. And I've always said the simpler solutions are the more advanced. We got to get away from this idea that complexity means advanced. It means the future. All these complex systems are not robust. They break down so easily and need like a dozen different other functions to operate properly. And that's bad. That is not advanced. That's not something to toot your own horn about, like, oh, look how complicated we've made everything. That's a horrible idea.
Yeah.
And I feel like the zeitgeist is changing to be like, well, you need this, this, and this. This is not advanced. This is actually primitive. I don't know. Not exactly. It's stupid. There we go. It's stupid.
Well, they've made a stupid model, right? Like, they've made a really redundant, stupid model, but it's based on mass distribution. It's based on, but it's very fragile, and we've always had these technologies that have come along in the last 30 years or whatever it is to keep things going in that direction. And
Yeah.
you know, you're right. It's a dumb unlearning system. It just does the same thing better. It just makes more of the same product. It doesn't improve anything. In fact, you could say that it makes things worse, but we're not.
Yeah.
You could prove that it makes things worse, but the system just isn't able to react. It's a yield based system. It's quantity. So you know, just as an example of that, you have more obesity or more sick people in the hospital. There's just no ability for those there's no ability for it to institutionalize to change anybody's eating habits. They'll just make more of it, like right, like you'll get a product at the grocery store where now they have added vitamin A or added vitamin D in order for you to
Yeah.
hopefully purchase that product and see that it's a successful it's going to help your health. But you look at the ingredients, it's the same ingredients from the same manufacturer, from the same commodities. They've just adulterated it a different way. So that's the correct terminology. It's just an unreactive system that hasn't served us well. But we're seeing that change.
Yeah.
Yeah, well, that's a good thing that it is that we are seeing that change, and yeah, and it's really good too, like that to hear that you've like been trying out things with the fish you had mentioned. Yeah. So,
Yeah.
So how are you doing that? So there's I guess is the water being used, or like how does that work with the fish?
So I'm going to give you a bit of a recipe here. So what I do is this comes from Jerry Gillespie out of Australia. And Australia is interesting because they have a lot of problems environmentally, which has led to financial problems. Like they have, their economy's kind of on a death spiral, and there's water projects there. Like the Murray River is famous for pollution, and they have water issues projects there that are in the pipeline. Caspian Report did a good one yesterday or 3 days ago about some of the huge water projects they're looking to do there in town. So, or in Australia, and to green the desert. And so a lot of this stuff is coming out of actually Australia. One of my crop advisors is Australian, who's moved up to Canada. So I got to give a shout out to those guys. They're doing a lot of interesting things. And someone Lynn mentioned last time was Australian. I think her name was Anne Curry, I believe. She's very, very influential in these circles. So I'll just give you a quick recipe of what I was doing with the fish. So we take rice water. We take rice and water and mix it with milk to make a lactobacillus. And then what we do is we add a little bit of molasses for preservative. And then what we do is we mix that again with our fish. And our fish ingredient, it's actually called a protein hydrolysate. It doesn't, but fish is the best one. So fish is giving you a wide variety and high levels of amino acids, which is really what you're doing, what you're feeding the plant, right? Which is really what the plant eats. The plant does not eat nitrogen, phosphorus, and potassium. I don't know how they've come up with the conclusion, because when you get phosphorus and potassium, it's a rock that's been treated with hydrochloric acid, so to break it down further. So you're not going to find hydrochloric acid in the soil at those concentrations to continue it to break it down. Now it does break down in the soil over time, mostly with water and the microbiology eating away at it. But the current practice of this is at one time, I guess it was a waste product, but now I think you can buy fertilizer kind of across for those heavy macronutrients at $2,000 a ton. So it's really become economically unviable for larger operations, larger scaled operations. Yeah. So I ran all my fish through a leaf chopper, and I filled the barrel, and we're putting in. Let me give you the recipe here if I can find it. We're putting in so if I've got a 200-liter barrel, or about 50 gallon, and half of it is the pure protein biomass, so the fish in this case, then water, and then I put 16 liters of the LAB into it, lactobacillus mix, and then some molasses as well, so for preservative. So I'm going to let that ferment for 4 weeks, 4 to 6 weeks, and then I'm going to use that as a foliar spray on crops. So we'll be able to hit those crops probably 2 or 3 times over 400 or 500 acres. So we'll have a great opportunity to stimulate some microbiology in there. And that's taken. I just have to add this. That's taken and used in. Blended in what's called an airlift vortex, and we grow that for 24 hours in a tea, and then apply it onto the field.
So I got a question. With this fish hydrolysis process, can you avoid the need to do crop rotation, as I've seen other farmers do?
We don't do that. We would still do it. We wouldn't have to necessarily. So, I can go through some of the practices that we do to add variety. So there's an idea of quorum sensing that we're getting into. So intercropping is relating to that. So very similar to this is just basically like, I don't know if you've heard of the Three Sisters approach. So the Three Sisters, the Three Sisters are like a squash or a brassica, a legume, and then a grass. So we're trying to recreate a lot of that, those concepts, which are ancient concepts, and Three Sisters is the one that is come to mind for me. So what you're doing with intercropping, which is like leaving different varieties in the field at the same time, you can get away without a large crop rotation. But if you're just putting like a monocrop in, you probably should get out of there eventually within a couple years. So for example, we have a field of clover. We're going to leave that clover for 2 years, but we're going to use it to get into corn in a couple years. But yeah, it's a lot. That's a larger management question. But yes, you can get away from crop rotation, but you're going to be growing different plants in different places all the time anyway in order to maintain soil health.
Yeah. Okay.
So that's what I was working on last night. That's something that's exciting that we're doing. We're a dairy farm primarily, but we have to grow food for our animals. So that's basically what we're doing it for. And what we're finding, the research is showing, is that the animals are a lot healthier because the plants are a lot healthier because the microbiome is a lot healthier. So we're looking to produce a food that's more nutrient dense from healthier animals. That's really why we're into this. And we've really seen a decline in animal health in the last 10 years. A lot of more interventions are being prescribed to our animals. And in understanding terrain theory a lot better, I'm understanding that the animals just need better feed, more natural feed, in order to compete with the bugs that are out there. Instead of being like a weak animal, we need to have nutrient dense food to feed them. So that's really what I want to do with is just have a really good healthy plant in order to feed our animals.
Yeah. And it makes a lot of sense. It's like, yeah, if there's these nutrients are lacking for them, but it's similarly for us as humans also the case, because if they're lacking it and the plants are lacking it, then we're lacking it too. If we would eat, like, I don't know, cow or any plant or something like that. So that's very very good. And it's good to hear that, like, that things are already being done. So now it's not so doom and gloom as some people might think. Just
Yeah, I think
nice.
it's a lot better than the mainstream wants to let us know. It's just nobody's talking about it, because you guys are busy doing it. You're out there working really hard, making it happen.
Yeah.
And people just got to talk about it, I think. Because I know a lot of farmers around here that do crop rotation, and they might know about this fish hydrolysis process. I'll let them know because that sounds awesome.
It
That's a really
does.
cool thing. But
Yeah.
maybe they can't get fish easily around here or something because I'm deep in the mountains. It might not be a thing, but it's definitely worth mentioning.
I'm not saying it's legal. I'm just saying it happened. We'll put it that way.
Right
But
on.
I wasn't putting it. I understand why the law is in place, but I wasn't putting at jeopardy any native fish population. So what I did was, did my research, and I said, all right, these are invasive species. They're fished at a mass this time of year. You can harvest them fairly easily, and put them to use, put them into production. So, in fact, I think the USDA is starting to get onto this where you're allowed to go in. So, like if there's an invasive species in your area, and there are a lot of them, right, due
Yeah.
to stupid models and people playing stupid games, right? So,
Right.
winning stupid. These are the stupid prizes we win. So,
Right.
we get so like carp or whatever it is. As an invasive species, you can harvest those and put those into a compost system wherever you are, or any protein can be used. For example, like if you have dead animals, are a great source uh, of biology, of food for the biology. So you can if you've composted any dead animals within a week in a good temperature in the summer, nothing's gone. The bones are left. Then what you can do is you can bake the bones and use that as a. So right now, another thing I've got cooking is I've got some eggshells. I cook some eggshells and I put vinegar in it, and then we're using that as a water soluble calcium. So you can do that as a calcium source for your plants as well. But
Excellent.
anybody can do this. A lot of these, whatever you want to call it, Korean natural farming or bioferment, stimulants and biofertilizers, anybody can do it. It's just, getting your hands on it and having some scale and taking the opportunity. And it's pretty fun stuff. I'm enjoying it a lot.
Yeah. I'm going to have to try it myself on my little piece of land. See what happens.
Yeah,
that'll be cool.
That will be really cool, Neirum. But yes, like,
yeah.
Well, we really thank you, like, for sharing these things. It's really awesome to have you on and
Very
have
informative.
you have your perspective on it and hear you talk from experience.
No problem, guys. Thank you. And I'm just hopefully I'm adding to your conversation that was already had previously.
Absolutely.
Real quick, I want to ask you about what do you think we could do about our trash? You have any cool thoughts about trash? How do you deal with your trash? Do you just take it off to the landfill, or do you have a type of system that you use to manage a large amount of trash that you might accumulate?
Well, it depends on what kind of trash. We've got a pretty good system in the area. We do have a local recycling facility that's quite robust. So what we can, we get rid of it there. But God knows what happens to it after it leaves the farm.
Right.
I think minimizing waste, specifically in our industry, plastic, is we use a lot of plastic. It's trying to minimize that and finding strategies to minimize that, and the best incentive is for when you have to spend money. So when we spend money, then we don't want to buy it. That's the number one thing. But there's ideas out there. I mean, there's plastic pyrolysis that guys are using to produce their own fuel. There's, you can do lots of things on farm if you have the time and the inclination to, reverse engineer some of these waste products and make them viable, make them useful to you on your farm. I'm a dumpster diver. We're picking things, trying to find things to make things work that you can't find at the store. We're ultimately going to have to be more resourceful going forward as these supply chains break down. You bring up a good point, like garbage. Now everything's in the farming industry, specifically when you're doing large scale. This stuff just isn't available to be fixed, right? So that's how bad or poorly ran these systems are. So you can't get parts to fix things.
Right.
So you've got to have simple equipment and simple solutions to help you get your work done in the day. So that's before it comes garbage.
Have you ever heard of this open source ecology project where he's basically has like farm equipment that operates like Lego blocks, and you can take pieces of it and assemble new machines out of a bunch of different machines you already have. And he has this thing called a power cube where you can basically have one engine and move it from equipment to equipment to do different things. I thought that was very interesting, but I don't think he's made a lot of traction with that lately, but it's a great concept.
Well, you're starting to see some of these. It's interesting, the technologies that are coming to the forefront. I'm gonna mention some things that aren't that are necessary to discuss, but aren't very popular, I'll say, and that's the topic of capital. And what we're seeing, right or wrong, what we're seeing is a lot of venture capital enter this space right now because they see that there's money into it, and they're not. And that's always been the case. Capital has gone all. One of the banes of our existence is transnational capital. But regardless of that, it exists. And my analysis would be like we're seeing a lot of capital flow into these agricultural projects, like these small scale startups. Last night, I took in a presentation by a guy who was doing. This isn't for everybody, but they were doing feed for black. So they were producing bugs. So they were doing the black soldier fly stuff, where they're taking that and turning that into animal feed. Not my thing. Hopefully, I never have the opportunity to make that work. But regardless, there's capital flowing into these types of ideas that are non-conventional, and that there will be solutions to take some of these ideas and make them scale. Not all of them are going to be good. Hopefully, not all of them are going to be in the hands of the oligarchs and the organizations that are operating things now. But we are seeing these ideas like the one that you mentioned, like the main engine, and then using it on multi tools. Even something like the BCS has done that. Like BCS is fairly prominent now in market gardens. And a great tool. You can be used across the board, and small scale, small capital outlay for the farmer, but it can do thousands of different things. And that's a technology that needed to be developed over time.
What is a BCS?
Yeah,
I'm not familiar with that.
The BCS?
Yeah.
So a BCS is it's like a rototiller with a single engine, and then you've got multiple attachments for the front. So you can buy one of them. Now it's not cheap. You can buy one of them for, I think, 5,000 Canadian roughly. But we're talking about being able to take something to do it at scale, like a large scale. You can handle a lot of acres and doing a lot of different things with that one piece of equipment. Very, it's got a gas motor on it, but it's very adaptable to different row sizes. Even something as simple, I saw somebody harvesting with a hand drill. So it's just a hand drill attachment, and they're harvesting greens with a hand drill. So things like that are really, really moving quickly. There's a lot of capital rushing into this space, and I think we can, it's something that everybody can take advantage of, I hope. That it's not just designed around large scale agriculture, because that seems to be, it will continue to have its place in society, but it's not where the growth is happening. The growth is happening in local communities, domestic production. A lot of that production is moving from the west now to the east, closer to Appalachia, closer to the Great Lakes where there's water, and they don't have as many social issues, we'll say there, or different social issues.
We're a little more stable, even though people want to give us a lot of crap for our culture. Mm-hmm. We have a lot more stability, and I like that. So I want to get that straight. Is it a BCS as in boy, or the VCS as in Valkyrie?
B is in beta. BCS.
Okay. What's that stand for? Was that an acronym for something?
I'm not sure. I believe it's an acronym for something, but it's a just as you described. It's a tool. It's a single engine, and then multiple tools on the front, and it's quite widely used in market gardening.
Cool.
But just on the subject as well, there's like these paper pot planters that I've seen out there. That there's in Quebec, close to me. There's a whole. They've opened a beautiful showcase building, something that you'd see in if you're shopping for kitchen appliances or something, like a huge warehouse, and this is all for smaller plots of land for gardening, so for market gardeners. Great guys. Like, some of these things are coming online, some of these technologies, and they're available to everybody. And I want to float out. So the next step after that, so we're starting to have some of these tools to be able to use. And another positive pitch I want to make to people is that there's a lot of unused land out there that people don't know what to do with or how to manage it. So you don't need to, everybody says, I'd like to do something for myself, but I don't own the land. I want it. But if you have a set of tools and a set of skills that you can bring, including microbiome understanding, including some of these technologies that are out there, you can acquire land. That's not going to be an issue. It's how to start it out and understanding the knowledge of how to negotiate with landowners or municipalities. In some cases, municipalities have lands that you can use, but you can, like, people can take this challenge on and do something with it. So if there's people that are interested in doing that, it takes a lot of. It's not going to be an easy route. It's the model is not there for you, but we know what not to do. So these things can be applied. These things can be applied fairly easily, and you can do it. That's another positive message. And land acquisition, you don't have to own it, but you have to control it. So understanding that you don't want to own land, you don't want to the state market. As far as I'm concerned.
And also, you mentioned this BCS machine. It runs on gas. I don't think that's a bad thing. I talked about a few weeks ago about the Tesla cars and electric cars being the future. In short, we're not going to be seeing used electric car lots, because these batteries crap out on you, and you have to get a new one, and the battery pack costs as much as a car.
Yeah.
And also it's going to be upgraded with new computers and all this. So people are not going to be keeping their Teslas for 20 years like they do with cars or tractors, especially tractors.
Yeah.
And you're going to just see landfills filled up with Teslas or electric vehicles and these dead lithium batteries. And also, the lithium itself, I call it blood lithium. There's a lot of people that die trying to get these rare earth minerals to make these quote unquote green batteries. I don't think people have thought that far ahead into the future. They're just so excited about, it doesn't run off of oil. But, oil, I think, is actually more green because you can keep that old tractor for a lot longer. Maybe we could do something like biodiesel or some other kind of renewable resource like that. But this electric stuff is so terrible for the environment. It's just, I don't know why people don't talk about that. It's pretty awful, actually. And it's going to cause some big problems in the next 20 years. Yeah. I just wanted to mention that because people feel bad about using gasoline. And I mean, I get it. We should have something that we're producing on our own without, the Middle East. We need something that we can do ourselves.
Yeah. Yeah, that makes sense. And yeah. Erik, so you were saying, like, with like the smaller scale things more happening instead of like the larger scale mono farms. Have you also been like seeing like I guess like permaculture related things popping up?
Yeah, in terms of farm design. So I'll put it this way. And I'm going to speak in terms, and I'm going to frame it in as I'm a producer producing food. So not just for myself, as I want to produce for other people. So we've got, and I'll work in the permaculture angle into this because of its availability. So if you're at the farmers market or selling into retail or wherever you're going with your products, is you want to present a brand. And these are hokey terms. Don't just hear me out, because there are some use to these things in order for you to produce food, because that's what we want to do, is we want to produce food. So we have to use whatever tools are available to us. And part of that is spreading our message about what we're doing on our farm. And hopefully then people will buy from us, because we have to have an alternative. We have to have an alternative for people to consume our product. We just can't exist. We don't exist in this vacuum where people are just going to come, or yet anyway, the people are just going to come to us to produce their food. They have choices. So we have to be able to create a message for them that's a better alternative. So part of that is the permaculture message, and other messages like animal welfare in the livestock industry is something that we try and do. So you have to present as a brand or as a business or as a farm, like, what are you doing on your farm that showcases that you care about your environment, that you care about your community, and ultimately you care about them as a consumer. And permaculture is one of those ways, because you're devoting yourself to a set of practices that is non-invasive, that has takes everything into account, from water hydrology to species that are on the farm, farm design, and that's a great showcase that you can show other people, and something to be very proud of yourself, and understanding that a lot of the concepts of permaculture and how things work between each other. So besides the fact that it's ultimately beneficial for everybody eating that, it gives you an opportunity to show people what your brand or what your food is all about. That it's not just okay, $9.99 at the cheapest price, because not everybody's going to be interested in that. Baz, you're on mute.
Yeah. No, but that's yeah. I think that's really important, and I was also, I think, in the last video talking about like the people supporting the farmers more, I guess, locally, and more buying from the, well, farmers themselves, and things
Yeah,
like that.
farmers markets need to be a thing again. It used to be a big thing.
Mm-hmm.
Somebody would, get like a nice little shelter, and all the farmers could come and set up a stand on the weekend and or throughout the week. I've been to little ones, but I remember when I was a kid, there used to be a lot bigger ones in the '90s, and they kind of got smaller and smaller and smaller, or disappeared altogether. And that's a real shame. Even some farmers markets would have like a little butcher section or something where they would have some meats, or be like, hey, do you want to buy a cow or whatever, or have it cut up and stuff like that. That needs to happen again. They can directly sell it.
Yeah, and people want that. People want that, but it's you know what? It's so easy for everybody, to hop in their vehicle and part of their week and go and get stimulated at the grocery store, right? You're given this appearance of choice, where you've got five companies putting everything on the shelf. You're given this plethora of choice to be able to indulge in whatever is available to you. So yeah, it's the consumers that have to change. That is changing. I mean, grocery stores, everybody's going out of business some way or one way or another. It seems if they have brick and mortar. So yeah, those things will come back naturally to communities. And there's a big Bitcoin community that's into. I'm not a crypto guy myself, but there's a big Bitcoin community online in the beef business, and they're doing just crypto transactions through to buy beef. So that's another currency thing that farmers can get into. It's a little of a stretch for me, but people are doing it, and it's distribution, and it's a way to um, it's a way to basically get your product into people's hands. That's all you're trying to do. Yeah, and there's a great momentum towards doing that. So it's
also there's a big movement in America here, where farmers and other people that do like leather crafting, or binding books, or do calligraphy of handwritten books. They are not using Bitcoin at all, or even money. They're using silver. They've agreed to transact with one another using silver coins. That they weigh out, certain ounces of silver, sometimes gold. It's called the Bear Trail, and it's kind of like this, interconnected community of people across America, where you can kind of stop and get things. I think even some people are doing, alternative fuels and things like that, where you can stop and fuel up your vehicle or something. It's like a parallel economy, or even a parallel society, because these people are kind of in their own world that they've created, where they don't accept as they call fiat currency. They don't believe in Bitcoin. They just believe in gold and silver, and they buy and trade that with each other. I guess they convert their silver into money to pay their taxes, and that's it. They use silver most of the time, and I think that is a very progressive and advanced way of doing things, and really getting behind some of these ideas and pushing them forward. Because I have my own sort of hesitance about Bitcoin.
Yeah.
All kinds of things can go wrong with that. All of a sudden, that money can be gone. A solar flare can happen. Some sort of EMP or whatever, gone. The computer's gone. All your money gone. So this gold and silver thing, I think, is very, very cool. You have the direct value, because gold and silver is one of the most stable currencies still around, and it will continue to be, I'm sure, thousands of years in the future, as it has been thousands of years in the past.
Yeah.
It's something that these people are embracing.
That's cool, especially like the entire like parallel economy, parallel society thing that's happening. Yeah, and yeah, I don't know, that would be like, yeah, very awesome, like that these things would move, I guess more like local, and more like I don't know, I forgot the word now. How not centralized, decentralized. Yes, and
Yeah.
that but also maybe like farms would maybe be smaller again, because I know that like in the Netherlands, for instance, what has been happening, because I mentioned that in the previous one about my grandpa, that a lot of the older farmers that are, well, they can't do it anymore physically, because they're getting very old, and that they haven't, or like, yeah, they have no one to take over, because like their kids are off to the city, or doing coding, or whatever else going on. But they have these massive farms now, but no one really has the money to buy these massive farms. So I'm kind of feeling like, I don't know, like these things need to be split up again, and like that becomes smaller again, like how it used to be, because it used to be very small. But I kind of also feel like there's this pressure put on the farmers to, I don't know, somehow be this big, to produce.
Yeah, they get all these tax breaks and all this money and stuff, and yeah, it's an intentional incentivization to destroy independence. I mean, that's what I see, and I don't like it.
It's unfortunately, it's the nature of the beast. I don't think anybody sets out intentionally to do these things. I think they can get caught up in it, but the nature, it's human nature to centralize everything, right? Like, it's just everything revolves around moving towards the center, and
Yeah.
we're on the guys like us are on the periphery, and my theory is that subsidiary groups will be created out of these ideas that are on the periphery, and hopefully these things will be brought to the center in order to proliferate itself. But right. Right now we're at the outside, very much looking in.
Yeah.
But we can do these things, and like, so where I'll take this now, it'll be a little far-fetched, but we can look throughout history, and a lot of these things, you talk about currency, and arguably you could say that our currency is being reevaluated right now by everybody. Everybody's looking at currency and looking at what, and typically at those times in history, land reforms have gone with those things. So it would be I prognosticate that we're at another arc in history. Our historical arc has come to another point where we could see some large land reforms. And structurally, like, we don't have, like, there's not a lot of young farmers left to produce the food. And like you say, a lot of these organizations are corporate, and there's nobody that can afford to buy them if they do sell or operate on them. So, I mean, you basically have these centralized. They're not state owned, but they're state related or state adjacent productions facilities. So, I mean, typically at those points we're like I said, in those points in history, there is potential for some kind of land reform that will make the future a little different. But we're way over leveraged on farms, and it's hard to say what is going to happen without some major strokes of the pen in order to make things turn around and act accessible for people. But in the meantime, I don't want to get too dark, but in the meantime, people can take a lot of this food and make it sovereign for themselves, which is really exciting. And if you can get to the point where you can market it to other people and get people excited about the products that you can grow on your farm, no matter what it is, yeah, there's great potential for that. And we have to thank the stupidity of the system that's given us this. They've given us a great opportunity and it's up to us to take advantage of it. And if you aren't, then
you
aren't taking advantage of it.
Yeah, you're 100% right, man. I mean, this is a great opportunity. When everything is kind of falling apart and collapsing, people can come in and make a lot of money and do something that they enjoy doing. You seem like you really enjoy what you're doing, and everybody can get a lot out of it. We can jumpstart this humanity thing again instead of the robot chemical bioengineering thing that I don't want to live in Blade Runner, guys. I don't want to do that. It was a cool movie, but it's a terrifying prospect, because I mean, go watch the movie if you haven't seen it, but that's what's going on.
Yeah. No, but yeah. I
hate to say this, but
but
I'm running out of battery, guys, on my phone here. If I cut out, I just want to thank everybody for having me on today. Hopefully, it was a worthwhile, positive discussion, and
absolutely
appreciate it. Good to meet you guys, and
you too, man.
You too.
Wherever you are, just know that there's a positive, that there's people out there working on these things, and Lynn mentioned a lot of them in your last broadcast. There's a lot of people doing a lot of good work, and so there's positive future out there in this field. But I just think the only thing that we're missing is the importance of it, and the ability for you to take it into your own hands and do something. So if I can relay that message, you can find me. We'll be my friend Rob and I, we make Laurentian Home Companion, which talks about a little bit more of these subjects in depth. So if you're interested, you can tune into that. We have 3 episodes and a 4th one coming soon. And I think in the 3 episodes I did, I definitely prognosticated what was happening this year for what I did the work I did last year. So the writing was on the wall.
Can you leave a link to that in the text chat? Because I'll spread that around for sure, man.
Oh yeah, and I'll put it in the description of the video so you'll get some some views from people who are interested in this. It's definitely worth sharing.
So that's great, and keep up the good work, guys. You're on the right path, and you can get hold of me anytime through proper channels.
Oh yeah,
man.
Best of luck in the garden.
For working so hard.
Best of luck in the farming this year. Yeah, well, you're welcome. Yeah, it's a lot. It's a big sacrifice, but it's worth it. And we just have to remember to look out for our communities and what we're doing. That keeps everybody motivated. So best of luck to everybody in whatever food you're growing or cooking or even keeping aware of this year.
Yeah.
Just learn about it and get excited about what's happening in the world. And best of luck to everybody. Thanks, guys.
Yes.
Keep it
You
up.
too, man.
You too.
Thank you.
Oh, I guess he cut
He was
out.
great, man.
Oh
He
yeah,
had a lot of
definitely.
information. Yeah.
Oh yeah, definitely. Yeah, but yeah, I still wanted to say something about like GMO food, but yeah, I think that's like, yeah, I just wanted to say still that that like, yeah, I had a really good point there with the food, that it's like quantity over quality. It seems to be like that's just what I wanted to still mention, but yeah.
Yeah, when it actually should be the other way around.
For sure. It's changing. We just got to talk about it and tell people. I mean, it's happening. I think there's people doing it all over the place, but you know, we're inundated with all this useless knowledge, useless news that scares us, terrifies us to be like, oh, please, robots, save us. Please, bug proteins, save us. And that's stupid. You know, there's people out there doing it right now. They just need some support, some money sent their way, people to buy their products so that they can, you know, continue doing what they like doing. And we're going to be fine. We're going to be fine. Just got to keep talking about it, and it'll happen.
Yes.
Yeah.
Definitely. I don't know. I'm hopeful for the future, man. Hearing him
Me too.
talk. Yes.
For sure. I'm going to try that fish hydrolysis thing. That's cool.
It sounds very, very awesome. Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah. No, definitely. But yeah, I think I wanna end this episode here. Yeah, just yeah, really nice to have you on again, Neirum. You too, Lynn.
Yeah, man.
And
thanks for having.
And Erik, if you're seeing this, you're a fucking champ, man.
Yeah, champion of humanity for sure.
Oh yeah,
Him
definitely.
And his whole, I'm sure it's a group effort.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Awesome dude. Very knowledgeable too. Oh, yeah, I would love to have him on, like, for in the future again, if it comes to it, about like different things. Very awesome. Okay.
Yeah.
Well, bye guys.
See ya.